Claire Stevens-Morley,
Here.
Jeff Solon,
Here.
Greg Rosenblatt,
Here.
Megan Rockwell,
Here.
Dennis Ryu, Chris Daddy, Chuck Neff. Thank you.
All right, we do have a quorum. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, correspondence, Sarah?
Yeah, so we've received correspondence from two different people. I believe folks here have seen the correspondence with Xavier Lederer, who is the head of the Cheshire Soccer Club, about the fields. I don't know if anyone, I know Rich, you had sent back, so I don't know if you wanted to.
Well, he sent an initial request. There it is.
Hi.
Well, we have an opportunity in a second for public comments.
Fantastic.
Sent an initial request, which included, turf for, not real turf field, that sort of thing. I sent back a note saying, here's the constraints under which the committee operates. He sent a follow-up to that saying, at some point, here's what we would love to have. It's a matter of, Cheshire has a tremendous number of students, children, and adults who are involved with athletic programs. They're always looking for additional fields. And based on his correspondence, he was looking at some point to be able to use the north end site for additional soccer fields. And we'll give him a chance to talk when we get to public comments, which will come in a second. And then the second?
And the second communication, actually over two communications from Leah Di Lorenzo, who wrote with some feedback about the North End School. And I will just, I'll just share that says, I feel that there's definitely a happy medium between the North End School. And that I hope the board understands how important it is to take all community perspective into consideration when agreeing on a final rendering. And this was related to her feelings that the current design, final design, was too literal a rendition of a farm. Hopefully I've done that justice. And I apologize, I haven't made the summary document that I always have. I left it on another computer, so I will be getting that in there as soon as possible so you can have it all in one place as we've become accustomed to.
Okay. And I did forward both of those out to all the committee members for your reading. Public comments. Anyone from the public wish to speak to the committee?
Seems like that's our.
Yeah. So,
If you could, introduce yourself.
so my name is Xavier. I'm the president of Cheshire Soccer Club. And we are here with DJ, who is the director of coaching of the club, and Matt, who is a new board member and is an engineer as well. So we are here, and you alluded to it, to ask to make the soccer fields at North End School as large as possible, so that we can put as many soccer fields as possible on these in this area. Matt has played a lot with different ways to assemble these soccer fields, and we've come with a pretty nice way to maximize the space for the age group of an elementary school. For that age group, basically, children need three types of fields: small fields, 4v4, so 4 players against 3 players, very small. And then 7v7, and that's where they have real goals, and they start to get a bit kind of the real thing for 8 and 9 years old. And then even larger fields, 9v9 for 5th and 6th grade. And so with the space that we have, the two spaces where fields can be, we can fit quite a few of these fields in the area if we can expand the area close to the crossroads. So that's the first and most important request. The second request is based on the experience we have at Quinnipiac, where we play now, which is a great place. And with these fields and other fields, we feel that the best way to protect this investment in athletic fields is to have irrigation put in place. One of our board members who could not be here today, or right now at least, has a landscaping business, exactly, and did some research about what is the cost of putting irrigation. Her assessment, based on vendors that she contacted, is between $15,000 and $20,000 per feet, and there are two areas per acre. Without irrigation, the fields are, after just a few years, going to look very bad. And we have examples in a few of our schools, elementary middle schools, of how bad a field can be. It's not really pretty. It can be unsafe for children because risk of injury. Grass goes away pretty quickly, and then it's just not very good. The third request, and I'm putting this request in order of importance, is to enable lighting either right now if we have budget, or if you have budget, or in the future by putting conduits, empty conduits. I'm talking about things I don't understand. So that at the latest
I do
stage-
that all the time.
So
That's why I got all these experts around.
So that at the later stage we can potentially have lighting. If you have any questions, these two people will answer.
Can I give a hand up while we're here?
Yeah, sure. This is the part of the agenda for doing this.
Excellent. So I'm Matt Jermaine. I'm new board member, and then this is something we kind of were kind of
I
racing
did
to keep it
forward the last email that Xavier sent out to all the committee members. So they have the attachments that were on there.
Yeah, that should be pretty close to that. And basically what we're trying to do is try to maximize the space without, there you go. Okay, good. So we're trying to maximize the space on the site. It's double-sided, so you can see the other side, and hopefully you guys can read everything. But for the field at the intersection of Java Street and Marion Road there, we are kind of going into the hillside, so you actually have a boring B2 in that area, which shows about 14 to 15 feet of sand, which is kind of a blessing for earth excavation. And I also noticed that in the geotech report, your school foundation, you're going to have to remove about 2+ feet of material because it's topsoil and then silt, which was unsuitable. So this might be an opportunity to use this sand deposit as a base for the school. Instead of trying to truck in all this material elsewhere, we're trying to get you to just move material around on the site already. We also, on the fields that were by the basketball court, what we're trying to do is save you some money there as well by, you had a retaining wall around 3 sides of it, and instead of the retaining wall, grade that into existing, so dirt's cheap, retaining walls are more expensive. And then by reconfiguring that area a little bit, and moving the basketball court, it also allows for us to kind of tuck in a slightly bigger field in that area. But the goal is not to basically blow up this site plan, which is a really nice site plan. It's just to kind of augment it with fields that allow better utilization, to have more games going on at a time. And you might not understand, at the smaller groups, the fields are smaller, but the participation of the little kids is absolutely incredible, where you could have a couple hundred kids on the field, and then you're going to have 3 or 4 parents per kid showing up to support them. So every little bit we can get counts. The configuration we show is an even distribution of fields for each age group, and it becomes harder as the fields get bigger. But this is pretty much what we're hoping for. It's always good to plan in a flat area for some sort of future equipment storage. Most of the school facilities have equipment over, tucked away in the corner, either in a fenced-in area or kind of a roll-off container. And then this is also tends to be quite a public gathering space if you're ever down at the soccer field on a Saturday morning where all the kids come together. And all these families are looking for a gathering point to basically meet the ice cream guy. before, always after the game.
Nice job.
And, but then in addition to that, they're also looking for the gathering point to get picked up. And if you're having kids utilizing this field, it's good to have a central place for pickup, which I did put in there, a place for a pavilion, whether an existing or future, which is situated so if a dad goes in one entrance and the mom tried to explain to the child, oh, he's gonna go in the other entrance, if he meets at the pavilion, the kid can't get lost. And that was the idea with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions around the table?
Just to finish, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Just to finish, do you want to explain
Yeah.
the benefits for the children?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm DJ Pereira. I'm the director of coaching for Cheshire Soccer Club, alumni of the high school, and been with the club for about 10 years now. And so it's been kind of we've talked to Sean and a couple other board member committees and town council members about us trying to expand into other areas of the town, both privately and publicly, in terms of finding more field space. As of right now, we've hit the over 1,000 player mark with the soccer club, with around more than half the club being under the age of 12. So field space, particularly for quality field space, has been kind of our necessity, particularly with the fall season, with daylight being an issue and trying to get kids and maneuver everything around with scheduling. So ultimately, programmatically, having a site at a school actually benefits us in multiple situations. We've actually talked to the Y about doing after-school programming soccer-wise, which they currently do, which would allow us to have multiple programming after school at a nice site, which would alleviate some time constraints that we face at Quinnipiac Park. It also alleviates any type of additional usage that we might need at this site. And it's really kind of come down to, how can we best utilize the facilities in town? And ultimately, John Gullick's done a tremendous job with helping us trying to utilize the schools the best we can. But obviously the nature of a new development project like this would be huge in terms of the way that we kind of operate. I mean, the town Public Works has already pretty much told us that we should be resting fields for the spring at the 9v9 and 7v7 level. We just can't do it. And then unfortunately, the fields are going to get a beating at Quinnipiac Park. We already have, we're paying additional costs to go into other towns. So we're at Chope, we're at Cheshire Academy, we're at Taft, paying additional dollars to ensure that the kids have additional space, having to travel out of town to use space. So it's been something that we've kind of been pursuing for the last 2 years. And it kind of now with the building committee seemed like an opportune moment to present to you guys as a project that we think wouldn't hinder and force a whole lot of costs on both ends of the project. So thank you guys for your time. And,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will note that I had a conversation with Tim Slocum, the chairman of the town council. I made mention of this, and he talked about the fact that the soccer group has spoken with the town council about it, and that there's obviously a role for the council to play at some point in terms of the margin fields and going beyond maybe what this committee could do, that the state would approve for reimbursement. So we'll take that up and have future conversation on that if you want to maybe add that to our open items.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Approval of meeting minutes, October 12th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to accept.
Second? Second. All those in favor?
I'm abstaining.
One abstention? Okay, that's it. Action on submitted invoices. Where are my invoices?
We have two, one for each project, and they're both from Vinzil.
All right, so we need a motion to approve for the Norton Elementary School, $1,875 for Van Zelm Engineers for commissioning services. Do I have a motion? Dennis? Second? Sean?
I do have a question though.
Yes.
Rich, it doesn't matter right now we don't need an answer, but at some point in time, as we get further and further into the design and construction, how do we validate the percent completes?
Are they not showing that? Well, first of all, let me ask you this, are you talking about percent complete overall for the entire project? or
Yeah,
just-
like Benzelm is asking for 15%.
Right.
Percent complete on the design portion of the fee.
So we evaluate based on, the work that they've submitted, on their work product. So, sometimes it's kind of like a judgment call as to,
Right.
Is it 15 or is it 12%? Sometimes it's pretty clear cut as to where they are.
Okay.
So Arcadis is responsible for going through,
We review
making
all
sure
of
that
this.
these are reviewed. It's then sent to me from Emily from Arcadis.
Yeah.
And I think, they are putting their name on there, the
Yeah,
percentage.
so you guys are
is
vetting
appropriate.
these.
Yeah, Emily won't send to Rich until she hears from me that we looked it over and we agree with the percentage.
That's,
Okay. And did we vote on that?
No.
We did not, okay. And all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. $957.60 to Van Zel Engineers, also for commissioning services. Do we have a motion?
motion.
A second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Moving right along. Chairman's report, be fairly quick. We finished up the community meetings. We had one for Norton School. We had one gentleman with about 9 or 10 of us, engineers, architects, school people. He was wonderful. He had a lot of good questions, but I think he did feel, a little bit under the spotlight. And then we had one for the north end. We had a larger group there. I can't recall exactly how many, but probably
5 or 6.
5 or 6. So overall, though, the meetings were open. We got lots of feedback, but it was a very small representation. I was particularly surprised at Norton, figuring all the houses that were around there, that people would come out and want to stay up to date as to what was happening. But they're either very pleased or we'll hear about it later, one way or the other. We had a meeting with Eversource, which was a very valuable meeting to go through and talk about our Path 2 process for energy savings. They are estimating that, based on what we've got planned right now, that we'll eventually see about $500,000 per school, about $1 million total. That money does not come back to us, so don't plan your vacation anywhere. Actually, when the building is all done, everything is finished, they check the systems and everything else. Check then goes to the town, so that'll come after the fact. But anyway, we're right on schedule for that. And in the working group meeting, I unfortunately was tied up in another meeting, and so I didn't make that one. I'm sure our architects will fill you in a little bit on where we are in that process. Owners rep and CM at risk. Rich?
Yes, so I don't have any updates on the budget, status quo from last month, from last week. But I do have an item regarding Eagle Environmental. And at the last meeting, we approved Eagle Environmental to do a phase 2 assessment for the North End School. We asked them for a proposal, they provided that proposal, and the committee approved it.
For the Norton School.
For the North End School. For the Norton School, you have a contract.
Oh, okay.
You have a contract
Yeah.
with them. When I
Next
brought,
time we build 2 schools, we're not gonna have names.
yeah, right, when I brought this to Emily so that we can get this in process, so that we can get a purchase order, Emily said that because there was no contract for the Norton School, it was only for the North End, that this would not be considered eligible for reimbursement. So I went back to Eagle Environmental and under the advice of Emily, who from our office knows the whole reimbursement process, she said if it goes under our contract, then it would then be deemed eligible for reimbursement. The reason why we did not put this out for an RFP, we did initially do an RFP, but we only got it for Norton. We did not get it for the North End, which we've done for all the other consultants. But we wanted to have consistency with the environmental consultant, so that's why we just asked them for the proposal as opposed to put it out as an RFP where you run the risk of maybe getting into a different consultant. So we would take it under our contract. The price wouldn't change. It would be the same as what was approved. But what I would ask the building committee is to just make a motion so that our contract can be amended for that division.
And I was very pleased that Arcadis was willing to do this for no additional money.
Yeah, motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Second. Any discussion?
And just for the record, that amount is $14,730.
Yeah. 14,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Open item log.
So we were able to close some items on the open item log. I think last meeting we talked about the wood floor, so that closed and it is now off of the open item log as you see it. There is an item for the Energy Commission feedback that's scheduled for Monday the 30th. We will close that item and then we can revise that. We just talked about the soccer fields and we'll add that as an open item. We'll track that.
The other one I had on there was the reduced floor height by 8 inches for the North End School. Is that already incorporated? It is. So we can
close
I
that.
assume we can take that off. That was something, as you recall, we did as a money-saving item for Norton and said if it worked there, why not do it also at the North End? Any other comments or questions on the open item log? Yeah, Ben.
On the cellular repeater item?
Yeah.
You know, I think the general answer to that is more communication capability is certainly better. Obviously, we don't know at this point, are we gonna have cellular coverage in the lower level of some of the buildings? It is a problem for us in certain buildings, like at the high school, if you're in the lower level. You know, our staff, our building custodians, as an example, they do communicate by text or phone call. And my general answer to this would be, if we need a boost for cellular, I'd certainly like to do it. I don't think it's in the budget right now, but
So,
I'd keep it open.
this is one of those things that, I mean, in my experience is that you really don't know whether or not you need it until the structure is up and then you can go in there and you can start doing some testing to see whether or not you need a booster. So we'll keep this item on so that it'll just kind of be a reminder. And this might be, it won't be written into the contract documents, but it might be something that we'll address as they're in there and maybe, if we need to provide conduit or something like that.
And then the booster is carrier specific, right? So AT&T is different from Verizon. So I know that it's going to get a little complex. We do provide cell phones to certain staff. We're on AT&T, FirstNet actually. But I guess we keep this item open until we know if we can.
Yeah.
Agree.
And
Yeah.
come back to us in 2 years and say, we need this.
If there's any money left at that point,
Well, we're hoping.
that's why we don't have to fund it through the operating budget.
We'll keep it on the log and it'll be an item for discussion from time to time so that we're not forgetting.
Okay, great.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So demolition of the residential structure at North End is an open item on the log. How is the structure at Norton going to be treated? Does that also need to go on the log?
Structure at Norton is not going to be on any land that we're,
Yeah, so I can answer that probably. We took title to the property officially this morning. Public Works already went out and started clearing the area of the land that will, where the driveway is, right? So it's the garage side of the house. I think I said at the last meeting, it's still undetermined whether or not, one option that the town council has is to basically subdivide the property along the same line as the west side of the school and then, preserve, even sell the house back to recoup some of the funds we spent on it. So to that end, again, a small crew of Public Works folks just went over today and cleared. Drive by, this thing's already a little more cleared up to the fence of Morton
I
now.
saw it this evening.
There you go. So yeah, we just got a jump start while the weather's nice, and so I'm confident that we can handle. I'm not entirely sure. We're still inventorying what's in. We had no opportunity to go inside the garage or the house yet, but we'll be starting to with the garage today. But I'm pretty confident we can take care of at least clearing that property for the purposes of.
Yeah, I guess my point is more about how you have to incorporate the property into the project, revise to allow for reimbursement. So if you're gonna try to get some property onto our project, it's the same process. So I didn't know if you wanted to add that on, so we don't lose sight of that as well.
I can certainly follow up, and I'll check with Attorney D'Onofrio too if there's anything I'm missing on it. I think getting the lot lines correct or amended is important sooner than later. But I don't think from a financial standpoint there's anything we're seeking reimbursement on from the clearing of or obviously the acquisition. We use ARPA funds to buy the property.
So are you suggesting on the open item log that we should have an item that says to formally incorporate those two properties?
I mean, usually Olga asks about the site.
It's come up in meetings.
We have to revise the 053 for the portion of the property that's added to the application because it wasn't on the original grant. So that's a piece that we'll have to do in order for it to be whatever. If there's nothing done on it, then there's no reimbursement.
So do we need to survey where that line would be? But we don't know yet what we do, but should we be surveying that property line subdivision change sooner than later?
We should likely pursue, if you're thinking about the subdivision, yes, to subdivide it, because there needs to be a property line there.
So we'll start that now.
And I assume it just comes straight down,
Yeah, right. So
although I don't know if that driveway curves towards the end.
I think the traffic has some commentary on that.
Yeah,
from a
well,
sideline perspective.
That's a perfect segue.
So one of the things, first of all, Chris Van Zanten is our traffic engineer from Benesh. So one of the things that has been brought up, I'm sorry, I'm going.
No, take it away.
I'd like to represent other disciplines. One of the things is we understand the traffic study, having care and control of a portion of this, actually it helps improve the sightlines, which are a critical item of looking westbound on North Brooksdale Road for egress out of this particular lot. So is that correct?
Particularly for buses, because there's severe grades going down the hill down as you go down to the Farmington Canal Trail. So we need to be able to see it for the bus.
So what you're saying is you really love to have that house out of there.
Well,
Well, it's more the brush actually, and being able to have that radius swing out. We can't have that per DOT requirements. That radius cannot extend past our property line. So to be able to. Yeah.
So if the subdivision kind of carries along this line, we can figure that out.
What we did, and the key there is also to make sure that we control that land within the sight line, the intersection sight line, so that if we ever need to go out there and clear it, we can maintain that over time. So that might be an easement over that property, but it's something that should be.
We're already removing, again, I walked it yesterday afternoon, and it's some of the largest, I think it is the largest holly bush I've ever seen in my life. It's 20 feet high, it's bizarre. And we're removing some of those, there's a couple of very dead trees that need to be removed.
Wonderful.
So I think that whole area will be just cleared.
Area's gotten very overgrown.
Yeah, sight line plan.
And again, the other option is, again, this is the council decision as to whether they just prefer to just keep the whole property as part of the new school property and demo the house. That's very much on the table as well.
Well, I would wager that based on the setbacks of all of the other houses on the street, that this older structure here is non-conforming. And if it's down, any development on the site, likely, we should probably identify that. I'm looking at you because you represent the civil engineer, but we'll follow up with Benesh to see exactly what that front yard setback is. Do you know off the top of your head, Dennis, what that zone has?
No,
do zoning.
I know.
Put him on the hot seat.
Yeah, my
Okay,
point is just don't lose sight of it, because this is something that will hang us up. when we're
Okay.
going for approval.
We, sent out copies of the traffic report to everyone, and you're gonna do
Yeah, I'll give
an
a quick
overview.
Yeah, sure. So again, my name is Chris Van Zanten from Senior Traffic Engineer at Bash.
I have all of your stuff
All right,
right
perfect.
here.
I'll let Jeff know. So I'll start with Norton actually. So, is there a preference when I start with? Yeah.
No.
Okay. So Norton, we completed a full traffic study here. We did executed a data collection plan which included doing traffic counts at 7 intersections along North Brooksville Road, as well as including King Road at Route 10 and South Main Street at Brooksville. Did data collection there, plugged all that into a traffic model, analyzed all the intersections. Most of the intersections were unsignalized, except for the one intersection at Route 10 with North Brooksville Road. That's a state-controlled signal. The only impacts we saw there with let me back up, is we added we also did observations at the site driveway, counts at the site driveway, to understand what the current traffic is that's generated by this school. Extrapolated that data into rates and projected those rates out to future operations with the increase in enrollment from 429 to 661. So, and then what we did is we plugged that into formulas that we have per ITE that forecasts out new trip generation, we call that, which is the new trips that will be generated on the study network. Distributed that to all the study intersections that we looked at, and then plugged it into our traffic model, analyzed it. And what we get out of that is we look at levels of service, and that's kind of how we assess. It's kind of a grading system for assessing levels operations at intersection. It goes A through F. All the intersections that we looked at, unsignalized within our study area, worked good. It was like C or better, which is acceptable. We did have one intersection, which is the signalized intersection of Route 10 North Brooksville. It's currently operating poorly. We have level service F there in the afternoon. Sorry, pull that up. There's a lot of numbers, so we're just trying to keep track here. But so it's level of service F. Yeah, so in the morning, it operates at level of service F in the no bill condition, and then in the future condition, it will operate level of service F. F is like in school, not good. So in the afternoon, we're going to have our southbound movement. That's going to operate. It's going to go from a level service E to a level service F. We're able to address those degradations and actually improve the operations at that signal to at that movement to level service C with just some minor timing adjustments within the controller. So that would be something that we can do. That's an off-site improvement that we're looking to propose there. It's minor stuff that we'd have to coordinate with the DOT, but easily done. Not any kind of new equipment. Other adjustments, we did meet preliminarily with the Connecticut DOT. Went over the site plan, went through any of their issues that they saw. They were generally on board with everything we were showing. They did identify a few recommendations, considerations that we might want to include. Currently, the school zone signage out there is a yellow. The new standard is a green, fluorescent green. It's a little darker than what's out there. That's DOT and MUTCD. Looking at, it's minor cost, but it is off-site. It'd just be replacing the signs. One of my recommendations also is to potentially relocate some of those signs. Some of them are obscured by utility poles. It's also a minor improvement, but would, I think go a long way to providing safety. One thing I didn't mention is this school has a very heavy pedestrian. There's tons of kids that walk to school here, which was great to see actually. There's a great sidewalk connectivity there. So that was kind of one of the key takeaways there. So we think we really need to make sure that that's well understood by the drivers that come through here. Speeds on North Brooksville Road are pretty high. It's posted 25, but we were seeing 40, upwards of 40 miles per hour. So that, having that new signage, making sure it's strategically located, I think would go a long way for safety. Another one of the recommendations from the DOT was potentially looking at rectangular rapid flashing beacons. That would need to be included as part of the cost of this project, and it would need to be maintained by the city, or the town, excuse me. Not sure if that's actually desired here, because most of that pedestrian traffic is happening during the school day. We have a crossing guard out there, and they seem to manage the traffic very well. Everyone knew the crossing guard. It was a nice community. So I think if you're maintaining that crossing guard, I think that you potentially could get away without that. And that's a decision that the town would make. That was just the recommendation of the DOT. So it's not a requirement at this point. You could also choose not to upgrade the signage, but we would need a letter from the town stating that. So that was the key takeaways from the DOT in our study. I know if anyone has any questions on the text or anything from the study, I'm happy to answer that.
The layout here works all right in terms of number of cars in and out and.
Yes, we do have, during your peak, the parent drop-off in the morning, it's your busiest time. It operates at level of service D. It's not terrible, it's just at the driveway up and exiting the driveway. So you're gonna have some queuing there, I think I had,
We have a much longer driveway now.
significantly more queuing space, so I'm not concerned with it. And what, if you back up and you think, oh, it's not operating that way throughout the day, it's just this peak period for 10, 15 minutes that, everything's busy, so.
Yeah.
And
I
you're
think that's the
separating
key
out
thing
the
to
buses and the cars, which now they're intermingled.
It improves safety significantly, it improves the operation as well. You don't have the buses, stuck in with all the cars, making those queues much longer, so. Because they need more time to exit too, so that you're not getting that operation as well.
Anyone have any questions on the?
Just that I'm gonna forward those recommendations on the signage to our traffic officer.
So would we consider like speed tables?
Those, yeah, so I think speed tables are, I know they're a challenge for power operations and other things. Again, that's a state road, so we don't, the town doesn't plow that road. But I know that they're really frowned upon for those operations. And the chief of police, who I could happily bring to a discussion if we had one on, but it has a lot of, he gets that question a lot. He has a lot of very solid reasons as to why they're not necessarily as safe as people think they're going to be, especially when people go at high speeds. But yeah, certainly on the signage component, that's something the Cheshire Police handle for those recommendations.
Okay, good, thank you. North End?
So we'll go to North End, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So on North End, we picked up, there was a traffic study that was performed by SLR last December, dated December 2022. There were some items in that they identified. We basically took that over and addressed some of the site-specific components of it that they weren't able to address at the time that related to the development of the site plan. Those considerations and recommendations addressed circulation, where they recommended separating the bus in the parent pickup and drop off, which we are doing here. So that achieved that recommendation. They also recommended separating the early childhood drop off from the other traffic, which we are also doing here. Another recommendation was to investigate the sight lines when we picked the site driveway locations. We have located those site driveway locations per their original recommendations and have checked them as well, and they all meet the requirements of the speeds that are going on out there. Speeds are high again, we're looking at 40 miles per hour on these roadways. I'm good, I'm gonna be after this, thank you. So, but we are good,
What is the speed, the posted limit on that?
25.
Okay.
So I'll get to that in a minute, but that was potentially one of our recommendations, was to implement some school zone signage through there. Just kind of recommending everybody, advising everyone this is a school zone. A couple signs in each approach, not a lot of dollars there.
Yeah, I live near a street that's 25 mile and I go jogging off the street all the time. I'm walking my dog, as
Yeah,
cars come zooming along.
that's especially on the intro day, those higher speed. There.
Every town, every town road.
Yeah.
Every town road.
We also, what we did is, in that original study that was done, they didn't know the driveway locations. They had actually analyzed 2 scenarios, one with all the traffic coming in on Jarvis and all the traffic going out on Marion, and then the other scenario was all the traffic coming in on Marion and all the traffic leaving on Jarvis. We looked at it based on what we're actually doing here, and everything is working good at those driveways. We didn't, and one of their questions was to look at the need for a left turn lane into the site at these driveways. All those left turns that we analyzed worked great. They're working at level service A, so we don't need those offsite improvements to provide a left turn into the site. So
When we had, like, the marketplace and things like that, we were talking to people who live in that area. They said there are some heavier traffic times when people are going farther down to the industrial area.
Okay.
Did you see that at all?
Could you bring up the study area? Just want to make sure I'm understanding.
North End study locations?
Yes. That's, are you thinking up here or?
I don't know where we are here.
Oh, this is, I'm sorry, this is Jarvis Street, and this is Marion,
Oh, okay. So,
Highlands.
no, so if you stay on Marion and you go farther up, there's the
Oh, right
entrance
there.
into the industrial park.
Nodder, okay,
And there's a whole bunch of corporations and stuff that are up there. So what people were saying was that at times when people are going to work, coming home, they felt there was a fair amount of traffic.
sure.
And I didn't know whether you were able to look at those times or not.
We looked at the analysis that was done, that's unsignalized, everything was working at level service A or B at all the unsignalized. So those are good grades we don't see that too often usually, so
Okay.
that was good. We could certainly look at it again, go out there, and take another look.
Yeah, I mean, it may be their perception, but these were people
Yeah.
who live in the area
Sure.
who felt that there was, a fair amount of traffic at certain times.
And
That's
that,
what they were saying.
it could be that's happening more at the commuter rush hour in the afternoon, and it's gonna be outside of our peaks for the school as well. The morning kind of coincides with the commuter at this school, not so much at Norton, but at this school, in the morning we're coinciding with it, but the afternoon we're outside the commuter rush.
We live in that area and we can confirm what you're saying. That's what we see too. Like in that Donner Drive area.
You're seeing, okay,
Yeah, we live in Balsam Place. It's between where
Okay,
the school
yep.
and Donner Drive.
okay. So, I mean, queuing, long queues, or what are you seeing?
It's just a very quiet area right now, so
Oh.
any extra traffic.
It's noticeable. Okay, understood. So we analyzed those driveways and our key, so our takeaways from this and also from the SLR study was there were a couple, actually, if you could go back to that study area map, thank you, Justin. Is that there were some slight degradation in level of service at Marion, Waterbury Road and the southbound movement. And then in the afternoon, the eastbound movement, it went from a D to an E. Again, we're able to address those slight degradations with timing adjustments. So the recommendation from the SLR report was to monitor it, and then once the school is open, because sometimes things don't pan out the way that we may model it. So, but it's something to just keep in mind, and it's an easy change if you need to. Another recommendation from our analysis was that we didn't need any off-site improvements at the unsignalized intersections. We did recommend that school zone be implemented, as I mentioned before. One of the recommendations, now if you can go to the site plan, thank you, Justin, was that the SLR report had 125 to 150 parking spaces. We're providing 175 spaces here, so we're meeting that requirement. Separated bus traffic and parent traffic. Again, no left turns are needed, and One other thing is that there might be some tree trimming that's needed here just to improve those sight lines. Again, and then also here to be able to see this intersection. We are providing a crosswalk across Jarvis Street per SLR's recommendation. One of the SLR's recommendations was also to provide sidewalk along the frontage. I understand that that's not in the plan right now. That wouldn't be able to be funded by the school. It would have to.
What would be the purpose of that? Where are you
Just
walking?
Just to provide connectivity, moving that to the Jarvis Street has sidewalks for a certain point, and then Marion has some sidewalks to the south. Yeah, so there's a big push for providing all multimodal traffic, or, to accommodate all the different modes. So it is something to consider, but.
Will there be a crosswalk on Marion too?
No crosswalk is proposed at this time. There's no sidewalk being extended.
Do you know why there wouldn't be sidewalks being extended up that way?
That's a decision made by the town council. All the site work is, relative to the school that this body manages. The town council manages sidewalks, and there's already been conversation about extending sidewalks through that body.
Oh, good.
So, they know that that's a request. They haven't committed to that, but they're certainly well aware of it.
Do you know how we would be able to follow up?
Sure. Sean, the town council, do you know when the next meeting is for that? Or, certainly you could always send an email to them, but when's the next meeting?
Yeah, the next regular meeting is November 14th, and all of their emails are on the homepage. But you can also send me an email at townmanager@cheshirecT.org, and I can send it to you.
Great, thank you.
We certainly would advocate for that too, if we're all on the same page, just a matter of how to do it.
No, of course.
It is worth noting that where the sidewalk is proposed from the street is the accessible route to the building and the site from the street. So there is, I think we're around 5% grading at the drives. So it's not the bona fide accessible route from the street is off of Jarvis. So that's just something to keep in mind, that if we're providing sidewalk access from Marion to the building due to the slopes, we're not going to be able to provide it as an accessible route.
Anything else?
That's it. If you had any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Comments or questions from the committee? Did you make sure? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Okay, architects.
Thanks, Chris.
Sure, is it okay,
If you'd like to leave now, I think so.
Yes, it's been a pleasure meeting you all. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Do you want your thumb drive back?
That would be wonderful. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. I see all my network error messages.
Absolutely.
It's all, what's that? I'm only deleting half of our server back in the. Okay, so we primarily wanted to go over Norton, and I think just to kind of set the table here, I know we've spent the last number of NGSBC meetings kind of showing you our work and kind of showing you our process, and the one thing that I do want to say is, because after the last meeting, we had some, hey, you're gonna stick a knife in my tire conversations out in the parking lot.
The answer was yes.
The answer was I had to call it.
It's a tough neighborhood.
We just want to reiterate that, this is a process that we welcome. okay? And we've said it before that we do our best work when all the stakeholders are providing valuable input. And, you know, it took us less time on the north end to kind of arrive at what I think the committee appreciates now in the design. It's taking us a little bit longer, but we think that these are important. These are important meetings. These are important steps that we're going through here for Norton. So when we last met, we had discussed some. We hadn't provided suitable graphics for site plan, floor plan modifications. We think that these are strong. These are strong improvements to both the site plan and the floor plan, and we can certainly get into those discussions. We've had conversations with Jeff and his team of administrators on the floor plan improvements, and we think we have considerable buy-in from a curriculum standpoint on those layouts. So just to kind of go over some of the areas that we discussed at our last meeting, but are able to demonstrate this a little bit graphically in a little clearer fashion. So overall, the building shifted a little bit to the northwest. We're proposing our access road to Sharon Drive around the east of the building. A couple of reasons for that is as we mentioned in our working group meetings, there were a lot of discussion about what happens with the flow of traffic with students after lunch, and how do they go from lunch to recess. So what we were struggling with was, you know, when we had everything out to the east of the building, the concern was traveling from the northwest corner of the building out to the east play areas. We also had some feedback from the council regarding location of green spaces. If you recall, you know, well, as you can see, we're no longer showing a structured field out here, though we are providing the green space. You know, so this is area that's available for maybe something down the line, or just leave as open space. By making the shift in the access drive, we are still providing our loading area to our kitchen, servery, and loading dock, but we're able to get a field component that's directly accessible to the gymnasium. It's directly accessible from the cafeteria. We're also able to provide some open green space to the northwest, as well as some playscapes directly to the north of the building. I think we have a couple of conversations left with the administrative team about the kindergarten, the early elementary playscapes, whether or not those somehow wrap up around as well. But we're also showing the additional parcel. We kind of went over this when we started talking about the traffic, more or less showing a straighter shot out to North Brooksville, utilizing a portion of that. This also provides us with a little bit more of the opportunity for a vegetative buffer between the back properties of the neighbors and our parking areas. That was something that we especially heard at Fall Fest and at some of our public engagement sessions. A lot of, you know, I think we spoke to just about every person that lives on Farmington Drive there with a concern about, you know, parking abutting directly to the back of their property. So this gives us the opportunity to set the developed area back a little bit, that, you know, if there are cars that are parking here with their headlights flashing, we have the opportunity to provide that buffer so that we're not lighting up our neighbors' backyards. So what this means from, I think we have a larger thing. So this more or less shows the location of this. And Sean, you had asked about the size of this. I think it's like 150 by something. I forget what the exact size is, but it's more or less the same size as our field out here. So what this means in terms of the organization of the floor plan is everything that's in our learning communities is more or less in the same geographic space that it was in the floor plan. We have tightened up some of the structural grid lines while still providing some breakout space at the ends of the corridors of our learning communities. That also is a reflection of some comments that we heard in our public meetings. Admin and nurse maintains their location adjacent to the main entry. Our line of, by sliding, the big move here is sliding the cafeteria from here around at the back, closer to those playscapes, and that rec area, recess area directly to the north. We did have some conversation at the last NGSBC meeting about, well, if the platform is at the narrow end of the gymnasium, what does that do for a presentation? We think this works well. What that also provides us with is the opportunity to start having some synergies across the gym to our specials. Our media center is more or less in the same location. We have stacked music closer to the cafeteria and platform. The instrumental components are on the second floor, and that corresponds more with where those age groups are for the music areas. So basically what this does is by kind of freeing up this corner, we're able to provide some green space directly outside of the gym, directly outside of the cafeteria, as well as provide some space to the north of the building. In terms of the upper level, still the same grade level learning communities, grade 3, 4, 5, 6. We have an upper level to our media, our upper level of art, and our two upper elementary music spaces. So this kind of tightens up this kind of central core of our specials. We think it's the opportunity to introduce some really exciting interior spatial dynamics between openings in the floor and from the upper level down to the lower level. So this really becomes our main street, our really active space between gymnasium, media center, and some of our specials. I just threw an awful lot at everybody, so I'm gonna pause here and see if there are any comments and questions about these.
Does this mean that art rooms have natural light?
I know,
Yes.
I know, Sarah, I
Yes.
did the same thing. I'm very excited about seeing this.
Yeah, I will say,
Yeah.
Justin sent this over earlier this week, and really just the floor plan layout. We met with the administration and teacher rep and others at Norton. They really appreciated this update. It enhanced the flow from a school process perspective in a lot of different ways, and Justin highlighted some of them. And so, they really endorsed this layout.
It's really great.
I love the cafeteria.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's so
Yeah,
smart.
that was a big part of what they appreciated, as well as, the outdoor access to playscapes being a lot closer. If you've ever tried to walk a group of 12-year-olds down the hall after lunch, the circus comes to town. And so it's easier to get them right out the back door rather than march them through the entire building, stuff like that.
I can't even march one.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So there's many benefits that.
Would you really rather have art with north light?
That's ideally, yes. I think we may be able to.
Because you can accomplish that just by flipping music and art.
The one thing about the music is the proximity to the platform space. To bring all that stuff down to a performance, you definitely appreciate the closer proximity there.
Yeah, we had a similar thought, but I think the function, the operation works really well with where the cap is, where music and cap have that relationship.
Yeah, the other thought is on the second floor, you really want instrumental music next to an intervention.
Yeah, I think we can look at this. We've had some discussion at the working group level about your ed specs call for 2 separate intervention rooms. Through some of our programming efforts, these are 2 spaces with one teacher. So there's the desire to have that more consolidated. So maybe this is some different program that's there.
Or it just slides down in the bar so that, you know, it wouldn't, between media and music, if intervention slid, you know, over, that wall could be treated differently, because it's gonna be a two-story wall anyway, so it may improve things, and, you know, it kind of gives you a quiet corner for intervention if we still keep it, you know, but, yeah.
But Jeff, to your point, instrumentals on the second floor. To bring things down to the first floor, they have to use the elevator, which is at the south end. So it doesn't make any difference if music is at the
There's
north or the south.
There's not a stairwell at the north
Stair,
side?
stair, there's a stair right here. The assumption is that they use the stair.
To carry instruments?
Yeah, they're not
They're carrying.
tubas.
Yeah.
No, I realize
Yeah,
that.
they're smaller.
And most of the
Yeah.
kids here play flutes, clarinets, trumpets.
It's a different kind of circus.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's true.
But they do that, you know, probably a couple of times a year, 2 to 3. It's not super frequent, but
Opportunity, though, to, you know, avoid some of that is if, you know, now we have this passage here, we could easily have access here, and that could be utilized for practice as well, because we have those doors. So, that's another flexible piece that, you know, instead of having, you know, if large instruments live on that platform or on the side of it, that may be an alternative to, you know, alternative room for flexibility.
Okay, thank you, Jason.
Anybody have any other comments, questions for this layout?
And we know the square footage is actually 500 square foot less than.
Good, keep going. Wow.
I saw it in your eyes.
Laurel's got her internal calculator running. Okay, so. These ring any bells? So we've gone through, as we mentioned, we've gone through. Yes, so we now have another slide of where we headed. We want to so these two are important because these were our two most recent. And what we heard at the last meeting was utilization of, you know, maybe more in this color palette, but maybe look at a blending of the two styles, right? Also, we discussed some simplification of some of our the roofs that we were showing at our last meeting. So we've updated some renderings showing what we've also had some additional back and forth with some feedback, some additional feedback. We're showing, this is again a view to the main entry with the gym to the left, our classroom wings to the right. We're bringing some of our stone veneer as well as our lighter masonry, working in some wood tones in some of our overhangs, roof overhangs, simple pitches from the corridor structural line to the edge of the exterior wall. Again, this is the art areas that we were looking at before. Simplification of the canopy overhang at the entry. This is the admin wing here. The non-masonry areas are a combination of a similar material palette that we've been talking about, so metal panels, as well as some cementitious panels. We understand that there's the opportunity to bring in some of those warmer wood tones through the use of those materials. View from the main entry to the bus loop. Again, administration, main entry, our academic classroom wings down to the area. And then this is a view from our field that's out here, looking to our gymnasium volume and the rest of the building beyond. So I know I just gave a really high level of that. We have Ernest that's here that has been working tirelessly as well.
So we think that we're closer. We think that there's more work that needs to be done. But we're really kind of looking for some feedback here, understanding that we've kind of gone back and forth a number of times here. So with that, I'll open it up to any initial thoughts, questions. Love it, hate it.
It's not a
Can work with it.
I think it's very important that we get to a point where we're giving you guys the go-ahead. We're going to get in the way of our design development if we can't lock this down as soon as possible. And I think we've got a wonderful design team that we've got to respect the work that they've done. So, you know, feel free to jump in and give comments and things, but I'm going to ask for a motion to approve this once we get into it.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
We have a motion to approve the renderings and the design as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second?
Go for it.
Communication, comments?
No, I expected some more comments, then.
Well, you can have discussion at the end.
Now, okay, all right, that's why you did it.
Got to put it on the table.
I thought he said move the motion.
No, he didn't quite get there yet. He will.
I actually like this a little better.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I like it a lot.
I like
So when I saw the wood tones and
The
stuff,
wood
I thought
tones,
of
the,
that.
the overhang with the beams.
Yes.
It's, yeah, I mean,
Right.
I
And a
feel
number of
like, on my
windows, too.
email, I
Yeah.
feel like I was listening to my novel.
right.
Last week, I feel like
Didn't I
was
say
listening
that,
to.
Justin? When I
It's-
saw that, I said,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
they added in, you know, a lot of.
yeah,
the-
those,
like
yeah,
over on the roof
yes,
line.
that's, yeah. I mean, that definitely says, like, yeah,
See that?
treehouse,
Yeah.
The treehouse.
the treehouse love, yeah, very happy.
Other,
Couple of thoughts.
Go ahead.
If I could.
Yeah.
You're still showing the glass in line with the wall on the buttons.
These, pull it out. Yep. Got it.
Nice effort, so thanks for listening. If you could go to the first slide. I think you guys did a really good job at breaking up the facade on the right-hand side.
yeah, what a difference from the
I
first one.
think it might need just a tad more. To break maybe like something in between the two sets of classrooms. And it doesn't have to be a knuckle, it can be just a difference in material.
Mhm.
Maybe bumping a dormer here or there would hurt, but I think this is night and day compared to other time. So thanks.
Other comments?
I think, well, everyone knows that I have been a fan of the very modern and more movement-oriented designs, but I really like this. I just want to say I really love the materials that were chosen for the outside, and the one piece where I feel like there might not be enough variation is the art room space. I'd love to see something with like either just a little bit more texture or variation in the tone. And I know that this isn't a perfect rendering, but yeah, the wood tones I love. I love the overhang. Really beautiful.
Anything else?
Bees nests.
Don't give them any ideas.
I think
And
even
get
though
one
it's
of
not
jet things.
the north light we were talking about, I just think there's something good about our, right, honey
Yeah.
chicken.
Oh,
And the opportunities for whatever
Display
you use to
of
explain that
yeah.
window and things, I just think are
Well, I as an art teacher, bigger kids, adult, but you know.
A little bias here.
But you know, the north light doesn't bother me because we aren't necessarily setting up the kind of still lives or things that would require natural light.
it's still
So
K through 6. They're doing some of it. They're not
Yeah,
doing
but- yeah, you're not gonna have models and things like that in there. So I mean, just I I love that it has those windows and the big windows that pop out. That's so cool. Hang up art. That's where you get your color. All the kids' paintings in the windows.
What is the material on, let's just take that art central area, what is the wall?
So this is where we have maybe a little bit that, Ernest, you want to jump in here?
Yeah.
This is masonry?
Yeah, so that's like a cream colored brick. It's got some grays, some ochre. So it really brings in the warmth of the browns. With the frames, we know we need something a little bit more durable than wood. So we're thinking it could be a metal panel with a bronze finish. So it's got that brownish color tonality, but we'd like to line the interior face with the wood so that it's protected and we can still bring that warmth within that window box.
I love the simplicity of the entranceway.
What did Dennis say about where the glass is? I really didn't understand that. On the
Oh,
window
we're
boxes?
Yeah, we have this kind of protrusion out that is mirrored in each one of the kindergarten classrooms. At a previous meeting, we agreed, if you move the face of that window pane out to the edge, you create a nice little maybe reading nook on the inside that a student
Also,
can.
just shown differently. I guess.
Yeah. I don't want to misrepresent.
That helps.
Are there any updates to the North End school from where it was?
No, not for this meeting.
Are there plans for potential updates?
Excuse me, but we have to run the meeting here, and that means that that's not on the agenda at this point. There is no conversation or no discussion today that's planned on the North End. We may very well come back and talk about that process. That is something we did read, or not read your letter. I sent your letter out to everyone in the committee, and it was mentioned.
That wasn't my letter.
No, was that not yours?
That was not my
Okay,
letter.
I'm sorry. There was a letter that had
But-
come in.
But we do share similar thoughts. So is there a meeting that's going to be discussed at? the North
That
End
is not
School?
on our agenda at this point.
So the North End School is final, is what I'm hearing.
It hasn't been voted on, but it is not on the agenda at this point.
I guess my question is then based off of Norton, if we're providing consistency in the town, Norton's been brought to this level, and a comment that was made earlier, like the more modern feel. Sorry, I don't know the woman's name in the green, but I like everything you said about the school, the light, the windows, and the North End seemed to go in the opposite direction, where it's like the spitting image of a horse stable. So is there reasoning for why this one is getting updates like this, but the North End is seeming to go backwards in time?
Both buildings went through a process where there were some initial layouts that were put on the table. Committee reacted. There were second and third renditions that were done. We got feedback from the town council, from the Board of Education, from the marketplace, from the community groups. And from that went from, in the North End, we had 3 or 4 different renditions until we finally got to the rendition that we have at this point. That's met with largely very positive comments. In fact, a hand from the town council when it was unveiled, because they liked it so much better than the one before. It hasn't ever been formally voted by this committee, but the committee has shown a great deal of support for it in comments. The Norton School, on the other hand, had difficulty from the beginning. The first couple of renditions, the committee wasn't really pleased with, kept giving suggestions and ideas. We were getting some negative feedback from community. We continued to ask the architects to work on it, and they came out with a plan last month that we generally liked, but because it required a large number of gables, it was a much more expensive building than what we felt we could afford. So we asked them to go back and take a look at the last rendition and the one before and try to combine them and bring this. Both schools right from the beginning have worked with community groups in terms of certain themes. And the theme for the north end right from the beginning was farms and fields. The theme for Norton was woods and trails. And there were community groups that met and looked at color palettes and design and gave feedback in that whole process. So this has been going on now for a number of months with lots of feedback from lots of different groups. And that's where, we're at right now.
So there's no plans for more feedback, it feels like the feedback, like, are we done with the feedback period though? Because is that what you're saying?
That will be up to this committee.
It's just like, I mean, I know not everyone could see from there, but like, this one looks great, and to the architects too, love the first one. We live right by the north end, like walking distance, love the first one. Unfortunate it was kind of shut down so quickly. But I mean, we literally just went to a barn. Like, it's just so far, it doesn't even look like a school. I mean, this is a literal horse stable below it. Meanwhile, the Norton School, as people on the committee have mentioned tonight, all the nice wood elements and metal and paneling and windows, and this one just turned into a barn. So it's unfortunate to be on the side of Cheshire where this looks like something progressive and forward and modern, and then this does look like a back in time, right?
Ironically, the comments that you're making were exactly reversed just a few weeks ago, where people were saying the north end has got the beautiful design and we're very unhappy with Norton and it doesn't fit in with the community. I'll leave it there because this committee has to get back to work. But as I said, we are at this point in time, the north end design was put out there, was run by a number of groups, largely has met with very positive reaction. It has not yet been voted on by this committee. That will come up. But at the moment on our agenda is to complete the Norton design.
Totally understand. I do have one last question. Is there any way that we would know when that was going to be voted on? Just because in our conversations with our peers in our age group, we're hearing more feedback like what we're saying. So I think there's just some sort of disconnect somewhere and we don't know how to address it and how to bring it to you guys or how to close the gap here. And that's really just what we're looking to do.
Well, every email or correspondence that we receive is shared with the entire committee. So for instance, I thought you were the lady who had sent a letter that we had at the beginning of this meeting. Those were sent out to everyone and was reported on by our secretary at the beginning of the meeting. The agendas are all posted on the town hall of the town of Cheshire website. And so those agendas specifically, for instance, today says Norton School exterior design. So those agendas are posted for every meeting. We meet the second and fourth Thursday of every month.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
All righty. Any other comments on the Norton design? If not, then I'm going to ask for a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience in this too. I think taking the time to get it right and really kind of go through a couple of iterations here is ultimately going to be a stronger product.
I think you've done a really nice job. I think you can watch from fade, 1, 2, 3, which is 4 or 5. It is a much nicer laid out building. The classroom wing doesn't hit you the way it did before. There's a lot of positives to this. I think it's come out really, really nice.
Great. Thank you.
And if you could send me the latest, because I'll put it on the Facebook page.
Oh, yeah, Rich, I'll talk to you about the Facebook page.
Okay.
Just a technical detail.
Okay. Anything on any other update issues?
The only thing that I'll mention is, so we continue to make our bi-weekly sacrifice to the tree gods with the material that you have here. It is important because what we didn't include in the printout version, but we included digitally were our virtual presentations. This has it has the traffic memorandum, but the last item, which is a 30-page document, is the owner's project requirements. So this is something that the commissioning agent has put together. It's basically it's the first pass of putting together the playbook for building systems, building operations, how we're going to use the facility. So this has been distributed to the district, to Ben and his team for input, and then we're going to have a follow-up meeting, and this will be the touchstone from facilities and operations standpoint that we'll be designing the building around. So this is an important step, and it starts with the commissioning agent, but then it permeates to our mechanical, MEP, FP engineers, and sequencing and controls and all that stuff. So this is a necessary document that everybody should probably get through, but it's important that the district does. Other than that, I don't have anything else to report.
All right, anything else for the good of the order? 8:22.
Wait, what?
Not 10 o'clock, but 8:22. Hearing nothing else, all those in favor of adjourning? We need a motion. A motion to adjourn. Second?
I'll second.
A second?
That's the sewage street.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you very much.